Welcome back to the Dear Katie podcast. This is Katie Kessner. I am the primary host of the Dear Katie podcast, and we are so delighted to have you take this journey with us on our weekly podcast episodes. I just want to remind everyone to do great self-care. Thriving is part of the purpose of this podcast, and we definitely want you to take a break at any time. Warm bath, fresh air, walk a dog, have a bite of chocolate, whatever you need to do good care for yourself. Just as a reintroduction, if you're not familiar with me, I am the woman who was on the cover of Time magazine at age 18 as the first in history to speak out nationally and publicly as the victim of date rape. And HBO made a film about me, and I went on to become the executive director of the Take Back the Night Foundation. We are the oldest, largest global movement on sexual violence in all forms for all people in the world. So we encourage you to visit our website for lots more information. So I'm going to turn it over to our host and our guest for today. Since we lost our video listeners, oh my gosh, totally look up Deborah Halvorson. She is amazing. Strong, vibrant, she pronoun woman. And so I wanted to start out learning a little bit more about your background and where you grew up.
Okay. So I grew up in a small town in the southern Midwest area. Grew up on a farm, had 4 siblings, and obviously parents. My parents sadly were very abusive to all my siblings and I. And it was a situation as well where the community that we lived in, a community of about 4,000 people, was what I would consider some sort of a psychosphere dome of dysfunction. And I'm not sure what was going on in anybody else's homes, but I do know that this was a town that was very dysfunctional in addition to my family. So we fit in quite well.
Oh my goodness. So just for the sake of understanding, everything was abusive, physically, sexually, emotionally?
Correct.
Everything.
Correct.
Oh my goodness, Deborah. Okay. So we're starting out, and it was, was it one perpetrator, multiple perpetrators? Was your father, mother?
It was mostly family members, Katie.
Oh.
Mostly family members, and then some community members.
Mm-hmm. Oh wow.
And when I say, the community was this dome of dysfunction, yeah, it was not just my immediate family, it was extended family and people in the community as well.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So, but this was back around what, the 70s, 60s?
Yeah. Late 60s, early 70s.
Yeah. Oh, gotcha. That helps for historic context. And Minnesota. Mm-hmm. So then, how do you, are you in high school? Do you go to college? What happens next?
I graduated from high school, and one thing that I want to make really clear is that a lot of times when people hear that I was raised in a small town and grew up on a farm, people think of the classic stereotype of an abusive home, maybe not a whole lot of money, uneducated, that kind of thing. Both my parents are college graduates. We had a fair amount of money, so we did not fit that stereotype that many times people create in their mind. Sometimes maybe to make the abuse okay, well, it's those other people that happens to. No, we were a very well-established family in this town with money and with a fair amount of success.
Oh, wow. Oh, my goodness. That's more intricate for sure. So you were in high school, and then do you go off somewhere else by the time you're 18?
Well, the abuse started when I was a child with all of my sisters and I. And yes, I did graduate from high school and go off to college. Went off to college in a town that was, I don't know, 3 hours away from where I grew up. But my healing journey actually started when I was in high school. And the reason that I say that, Katie, is because we all find ways to cope and survive in terrible situations.
I think that you're so right. Yeah, oh my gosh. So what were you doing to survive at that age?
Well, when I was a child, the surviving was simply not knowing any better. And what I mean by that is when you are raised in an environment where abuse is prevalent, you really don't know any different. That's your reference point. And that's a good news, bad news thing for a kid. I mean, the good news is you don't really know how bad it is. The bad news is it's really bad. But as a child, you don't really know that. When I started to become a teenager, it continued, of course. There was never a time when it didn't continue. It continued. And the way that I coped as a teenager was that I found alcohol and drugs.
Wow.
became very addicted to both of them. And I would have to say that this might sound kind of funny, Katie, but I believe that the alcohol addiction and the drug addiction saved my life.
No,
and that
I can believe it.
Funny,
let's talk about that, because that resonates with my most recent guest. She is about your same age, Deborah, and some of our listeners will hear her episode before we launch yours. And Cheryl she even said something. She said it this way, and maybe you can respond to it. It's so cool and weird and amazing, Deborah, that I get to interview you after Cheryl. So Cheryl said, I was an excellent drinker by the time I was 17.
Oh, yeah.
She was like, by
the time I was 14.
Well, you beat her by 3 years, but like literally she's like, I was a pro. And she knew how to, that's how she survived her trauma. But maybe it means something different to you.
It is a survival mechanism. It's an escape mechanism. It's a protection. As long as I was drunk or I was high, Katie, I didn't have to think about anything. I didn't have to think about how bad things were.
Let's talk about not just think, but also feel. I think it's interesting as we smart women think about or talk about thinking versus feeling. I want to just sit there for a second and explore that. Was it not having to think about it, or not have to feel it, or both?
They're both. They're both. Absolutely. Because you feel it first.
Yeah. And
you feel it first.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make any sense.
It makes no sense. And then what if we roll forward? I don't know. Ranking never means much to me, but I also like thinking about where we stand when we reflect on abuse, especially large amounts of childhood abuse. Our listeners have only recently learned that I too went through a ton. I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't talk about it very much, Deborah. Like only people. Yeah, my listeners mostly was like, "Oh, Katie's so cool. She was 18, empowered on the cover of Time." But there's a long-standing path that got me that strong. But anyway, I like. Let's sit in that moment for a second. I like everything you said. It totally resonates. Like, we didn't know any better. Nothing. That was norm. But, and were we thinking or feeling, and which one did we need to numb out more? Or what are your thoughts? Was one more like, when I say thinking, Deborah, I literally say, thinking is the film strip, the repeat on YouTube, seeing the same scenes and hearing the same thoughts over and over.
Okay.
And feeling is the empathy, the blame, the shame, the hurt to our entire core. It's the ramification of the thinking. the application of the thinking on the psyche.
Mm-hmm.
So if that makes sense, and I'm just chatting, and unfortunately I can't see you to think. I know. I wish we could think together. I'm like, our brains are like right up against this wall as we think together, because this is something you do every day so gorgeously, and I'm just learning about you today, and I pushed my forehead up against the glass window in the freezing cold. Like that's how I'm like standing there breathing hot breath of fire into, like, we're standing on opposite sides of the glass. That's like how I envision us. Just I'm doing like, how we're going to talk about some hard stuff, and we can't touch each other. We can't see each other. We can just put our fingertips on this glass and breathe in our breath and blow big smoke screens on a pane. But when I think about how hard trauma is, that's how I envision it. It's like a lot of those visual and visceral things. But I know we're going to get where we need to go. But I like thinking about, what is the numbing for when we're 14, like you just said. What are we numbing, and what do you think you did it intuitively? You intuitively did self-protection. So I'm going to shut up. You talk.
Okay. And what you just previously said was very beautifully put, because it is very confusing. Mm-hmm. It's confusing when we look back, and when I look back as a child. It can be somewhat confusing, but I don't recall thinking anything, Katie. I think that there is this beautiful, brilliant gift that so many abuse survivors have, and it's dissociation. If I could dissociate, and it wasn't a conscious thing, okay? It wasn't like I was saying, okay, things are bad, I'm going to dissociate now. No, it was just something that happened. When the abuse was occurring, I would leave my body mentally. I would leave my body. I'm sure you've read about a lot of other survivor stories where they talk about that, and that's dissociating. You dissociate from what is happening to you at that time, and that's a complicated psychological thing that I'm not an expert to talk about, other than in my own life. But I dissociated as a child, and it wasn't a conscious act. And at the same time, let's say, let me give you an example. Let's say that it's a typical Saturday night in my house, and my father is drunk, and my mother is downstairs. My father is upstairs with his daughters, and there's abuse happening. There's everybody trying to survive. Everybody trying to survive on their own in that situation, in whatever means each individual has figured out or has come to know as a way that they survived that. Okay, so and the next day, it's not like I would wake up and say, wow, that was a rough night. No, there was no thinking about it at all. And the feeling, a person can't, I'm a firm believer that a person can't get away from feelings. They just are. But what do you do with those feelings as a child? It makes no sense that the people who are supposed to care for you and nurture you and love you, it makes no sense that they are regularly committing acts of violence. And so as a child, you turn it in on yourself.
Deborah?
And you become the problem. Yeah.
No. Oh my God. I want to put that on bold print somewhere. let's go a little more into that.
Sure.
I'm thinking about our survivors and the vast, like all the conversations we've had. Some, I'm going to go back for a second. So you said we wake up, all this crap happens, and then we wake up and it's tomorrow. The sun's back out. And I like thinking about how it is that we can get up and do it all again. And and subconsciously, we know it's going to happen again. And I know you just referenced like the two of us were kids, but imagine for our domestic violence survivors, they're just, it happens all again. The kids go to the bus stop. I cleaned the house. I went to work. I came home. He's already mad. I know what's going to come. How can I make it less? And then I'll get up and do it again. And there's no time to leave. No, like I like thinking about how for some of us, there's no ability when we're children. Right. And when people blame victims who are adult survivors in domestic partnerships, they are like so judgy. They're like, "Oh, so you should just get out. You should get the hell out of Dodge. Why don't you just leave him? How can you take it again?" But it's just like what we're talking about. Don't you think, Deborah, in some way?
I completely agree. We're trying to survive. We're trying to survive in the situation. And there's this thing that happens, and it happened for me, and I'm sure it happened to millions of other people out there, and it's called denial. You deny the seriousness of the situation, at least when you get older. I'm thinking about things that happened to me as I got older in life. As a child, you don't know any different. You don't have the capacity you just don't have the capacity to process everything that's happening as a child. As we start to get older, our brains get bigger and we get a little bit more capacity to process things. When I started to get a little bit older, the processing of it was, I just couldn't do it. I just had to escape from it, which is why I got into drugs and alcohol. And as I got older and was in violent relationships, it was the thought of, well, it wasn't that bad. And it's minimizing. It wasn't that bad, and I must have just pissed him off. I guess I won't do that again, and maybe it'll be different this time. It's that kind of thinking, that keeps us moving.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree, and it's so powerful. So now you are into sustainable addiction. And I don't know. I coined a phrase, sustainable addiction, right? Or
I love that.
Or maybe it's performative. It's like sustainable performative addiction. Yeah. It's
and I got arrested. If you would like me to continue on.
Oh my gosh!
The story.
What happened? How?
I got arrested when I was 17. I was driving with an open bottle. I had all kinds of alcohol in the car, all kinds of people in the car. This was in the 70s. Nobody wore seatbelts. The vehicles were very big. You could get 6 or 7 people in a car, no problem. Driving around town, everybody's drinking. I got pulled over. I got pulled over by the police. Everybody in the car got out, ran away, left me there, and I was 17, and I was arrested and cited for the open bottle and minor possession because I had some drugs in the car too. And I went to rehab then. I went to a alcohol and drug treatment center, which was away from my hometown, away from the crazy family. And it was the first time in my life, Katie, that I thought, wow, there's a different life.
That's incredible. Dad, oh my God. Like, life. Hello, my friend rehab.
Yes.
It's like, yes. So Deb, the coolest thing was I just interviewed a psychologist at Loyola in Chicago, and he we're talking about the exact idea and this is the random. So luckily our listeners will hear his and then yours. And we said, sometimes healing is finding a whole new community that understands you and gives you a different point of view. And I was like, oh crap, you just did it. Yeah. You like, thank God for rehab.
Yes. Thank God for rehab, because once I got out of rehab, I became very involved in the recovery community. The recovery community that was in my hometown, which, I was only there for 6 months after I got out of rehab, and then I went away to college. So when I really got involved in the recovery community was when I was away from home in college, and that is what started my spiritual journey. And it also is what started me on the road to dealing with all of the residue, the shame, the self-blame, the never feeling safe, dealing with all of that. But the first thing that had to happen for me, Katie, is I had to quit running. I had to quit.
Oh, you mean running away? I was like, running
away.
Okay. So now you're a long distance marathon. I was already saying, like, where did the marathons come in, my dear?
No.
I was like, okay, you've got so many talents.
I had to quit trying to escape everything that was my life into drugs and alcohol. Okay? Because when you're drunk and you're high, you're not really dealing with anything. You're not who you really are. You're just trying to not feel and not think. And so when I got into this recovery community, that was just not what we did there. It was spirituality was kind of a big deal, and it was a place where for the first time in my life, I felt like I belonged. I felt like I was with people who understood me. And I'm not talking about the abuse yet with anybody, the violence and the sexual abuse, because it's still locked away in this closet way back in my mind. So it has not come forward yet. It's all still back there. And I kind of feel like I needed to have a 10-year foundation in this recovery community so I could learn how to trust a few people, so that I could learn that I wasn't alone, so that I could learn that I belonged somewhere, and so that I could learn that I am absolutely going to be okay without getting high and drunk all the time. I needed that foundation before my memories started to come forward, before I started to have my flashbacks.
And when you started doing the flashbacks, Deb, were they about the abuse from within your community? And
started out as, and people have flashbacks differently. Not everybody has flashbacks, but I did. And it started out as flashbacks of close relatives.
Oh no.
Close relatives, and my flashbacks are pictures.
Oh.
I don't feel anything. I don't. Some people get smells. Some people get body memories. Flashbacks show up in a variety of different ways for each survivor. For me, I would see pictures.
That's so interesting, Deborah. Let me just ask you, when you say picture, some people have a photograph in mind, like high def. Was it like blurry? Was it like crystal clear? And also, since it's a whole act, was it multiple photographs, almost like a film strip?
No, it was mostly just a flash.
Oh,
and then,
wow.
And then it would be, because flashback, it would just be a flash of something that had happened to me that I hadn't really remembered before.
Was it, I think our listeners will find this really curious. When the flashback, the little flashbulb Was it before, during, or after? You know what I mean? Like, if we think a whole event, a whole situation, I'm curious, like, did you ever think about, were the flashbacks always like precursors, during, or after?
That's interesting. Nobody's asked me that before. And
Yeah.
and so
Because I'm
so that
like I think you're helping me think with you. Like my glasses, like the glass up against the window. I'm still like you're helping. You're so amazing at this step. Like I'm just sitting here thinking and absorbing. So
well, and now that you have put that question to me, I'm gonna explain it this way.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if this will be understandable, but this is what it is. When I would get a flashback, I would see something, but then I'd get the feeling. The scared, the terrified feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And then I can remember a couple of them where I would have a smell.
Oh.
I would have a smell when the flash would come. Then I would also have the smell, like alcohol on the breath, that kind of thing. I would have a flash of a sound, somebody coming up the stairs, but then that terrified me. And then I would see my dad standing in the doorway. So it was flashbacks. It was flashbacks like that in the beginning. And I have 3 sisters and 1 brother. And one sister of mine who is a year younger than me, we started having our flashback memories at the same time, but we did not know it.
Really?
Really.
That's so interesting. How far apart are you with your sister in years?
1 year.
1.
She's 1 year younger than I am, and we were very close when we were growing up. And then just because of all the dysfunction and the survival that everybody has to do growing up in a home like mine, we didn't really have much to do with each other. So it was kind of a fluke that we both found out in a conversation that we were having what was going on. And we're like, what? What? I mean, you want to talk about a Me Too movement. Oh my gosh, Me Too! What? You too? And so that Katie gave a lot of validation to what was happening to me.
Yes, that your sister was there with you.
Yes.
I love it. I love that.
And we remembered
and then you're not
things.
crazy. Like then you're no longer, Yes. Oh my gosh. So that bolstered everything. So then what's next?
Well, what's next is that what's next is probably the hardest thing that's ever happened to me in my life. Is I called my parents, and
crap! Were they on speakerphone?
I did, yeah. I don't.
Yeah, I'm just saying for our listeners, they have no idea what that is. Probably there's an old thing with a dial, like with the dial, like you have
rotary
to ring,
dial, that kind of thing.
Like just for our listeners, there probably is one landline. There's such a thing.
Yes. It was way before cell phones. And I called them and told them what was going on, and they just denied it, didn't believe it. It's not true. Why are you doing this to us? It was that kind of a reaction from them, and I knew that was it. That it was over.
What do you mean? Like you didn't blame them, or
the relationship with them was over?
And there was no guilt, no strings attached, no like, oh my God, you gave me anything. I'm good. I'm all done.
There was no way. I tried to go back and forth, but it was It was a slow evolution of me realizing that I cannot be in this situation anymore. Because every time I would spend time with my parents, I would leave wanting to get drunk or high. And that was a very dangerous place for me to be. And so when that was starting to happen, realizing that, my gosh, I don't feel good when I leave here. I want to get drunk or high. And then shortly thereafter, I started to have my first memories. I mean, they're just like little chips that come out of come out of a box or a closet or whatever. I think I refer to it as I talk about the basement in my book, but there's also a closet where there's just little chips that come out. And as soon as those started to come out, and I tried to have a dialogue with them about it, and their response and their reaction was way over the top, I thought, I can't be around them anymore. I can't be in this relationship anymore. And it sounds so simple, doesn't it? Of course you don't want to be in a relationship with people who treat you like that. Of course you don't. Duh. You know, I mean, it's like saying to the battered spouse, well, duh, you don't want to be in that relationship with that person if they beat you. Of course you don't. It's not that simple. It is absolutely not that simple. These were my parents. These were people that I had tried all my life to get to love me, to pay attention to me, to act like they cared. All my life, that's where my energy went.
Hey, Deb.
And now, yeah.
Before you go on, because you just said now, I don't want to go present tense yet. I wanted to sit with one more thing, because some of our listeners, you mentioned your powerful sister who experienced and validated the same thing.
Yes.
I'm worried for some of our listeners who don't have that validation. They don't have any mirror of validation. But you are a powerful, strong, amazing woman. And how important is that? And if one of our listeners is like, I'll feel like I might be insane if I call this out. I know we're going to get there, but how much of a role did your personal perseverance and decision and what role did your sister have in bolstering, supporting, and validating have? Sorry, that's a particular question, but I think it's really important because you can feel kind of crazy in abuse.
You absolutely can feel very crazy in abuse. One of the things that helped me when I started to have my memories that, had been locked away for so long was that I was already in a safe community, and I had people in that community that I trusted to tell this to, who never doubted me.
Oh my gosh. And are you referring to which community now, college or the...
No, the recovery.
The recovery center.
Recovery.
Oh,
great. Not the center, the community.
Love it.
Because there's a whole recovery community out in the world for alcohol and drugs. And it was the recovery community that I was involved in college. And then when I graduated from college, I moved to a city and got involved in the recovery community in the city. And so I had that foundation. But here's the thing. Mm-hmm. I've worked with a lot of people who have doubted their memories, who have doubted what is showing up in their head. And one thing that I know for myself was that I didn't have the capacity to make this stuff up. I mean, I really didn't. I am one of those people that believes believes right to the depths of my core that if somebody says they were abused as a child, they were abused as a child. Because you don't make that stuff up. And the second question is, why would you want to? Okay? So
yeah, I love that.
that is the question that I pose to people when they say, yeah, but I have this memory, but I'm not sure it's true. Maybe I'm just making it up. And the question is, why would you want to make that up?
And Deborah, let's take it to a different level, because what you just told me was you called your parents and they deny. They thought it never happened, right?
Yeah, correct.
So let's just sit with that for our listeners for a second. When you call the abuser or the people who have a stake in the game, what incentive do they have to say, yep, I'm kind of a shit show?
Right.
They're not really, oh my God, thank goodness you brought, after 30 years of denial, the light bulb goes on when you call me. We must tell our listeners, that's insanity. And they're in denial themselves, right?
Absolutely.
So let's tell our listeners.
Very, very, very rare that an abuser will admit it.
Yeah, why would they? Because their entire foundation is built on their own lie. Their own, right. Well, no. Sorry, I have an idea. Deborah, this is a big, I think you're so fun and amazing and brilliant. I think we were talking about,
Katie.
No, my God. Yeah. This is fab. You know what I said? It's built on their own lie, but I'm going to go one different. It's built on their own truth.
Yeah.
It's not a lie to them. It is their truth. And it's kind of where I roll back when 10, 12 minutes ago, when you said we would get up and do it all again. Mm-hmm. It's tomorrow, yesterday never happened. Yesterday is a different day. Today is a new day. And yesterday is fiction.
Right. We can't think about it.
Yeah.
We're not going to think about it.
We're not going to think about it, not talking about it. It didn't happen, almost.
Well, and another thing too, Katie, is that my parents both came from homes that were highly abusive.
Oh.
And so it's this generational mm-hmm. trauma. There's a lot written about that now.
Oh.
The generational trauma and the cycle. My story in the book is called "The Cycle Stops Now," and that's my personal story. But the cycle of sexual and physical abuse continues from generation to generation until somebody stops it, and that's how it works. That's just what happens. That's evidence based. Mm-hmm. I mean, people do what they know.
Well, that's a perfect segue. I feel like this could be a 5-hour podcast.
Sure, I know.
No, it's so fabulous. So let's we might need to do, we've done some part 2s. I feel like we laid a ton of groundwork. Let's talk about, once all of these things are coming on and you're able to set aside guilt, shame, what happens next for you, Deb?
Okay, and yeah. I have to go back to that statement.
Yeah.
Set aside guilt and shame.
Oh no. So that's wrong.
When did I do
that? I don't know. I don't know if you did. Guilt and shame, maybe never.
And I say that was kind of a rhetorical question.
No, that's perfect. Let's delve into it.
Because setting aside shame and guilt and self-blame is a process. It is an absolute long evolving process, and it doesn't happen overnight. And so what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, I'm not sure it's ever done. I think it creeps.
I'm not sure it is either.
It's like sure. The weeds that creep back up. You're like, oh, I thought I got rid of that one, and now it's back.
Right, because there's many layers. There's many layers to it. Mm-hmm. And so once I acknowledged that I had been sexually assaulted and grew up in a home with regular violence and sexual assaults, once I acknowledged that, I couldn't ever unacknowledge it. I couldn't ever say, oh, that didn't happen to me. Although I know some people who do. Some people have done that because they just don't have the capacity to move any further, and we can't fault them for that. I mean, it's just a complicated process. But for me, I never unsaid it. It never occurred to me that I had an option to say, oh, well, that didn't happen. I just made all of that up. I just had to keep moving forward. And so I quit. I stopped all ties with my family except for my one sister. I mean, I haven't seen my parents in 32 years. And, I haven't seen some of my other siblings in over 30 years. We don't see eye to eye. We do not agree on anything that has happened in our childhood and in our growing up years.
Mm.
And if all you're going to do is butt heads with people, and everybody's trying to get somebody else to see their truth. I'm going to put truth in quotes.
Oh, I love that's great.
Then what is the point? It's like, no, I did not see it the same way you did it. You saw it, but I have to operate from my experience and what I experienced and what I feel to my core. And if you're not coming from that place, if you don't remember things the way I did, well, you know what? That's for you. That's for you. But this is for me. This is what I remember. And I spent many, many years, Katie, thinking that I had to convince my siblings and my family, to convince them that this really happened. And that's a losing battle.
Deb, I just want to sit in a little moment of silence because this podcast is more unveiling of everything for everyone. And my gosh, I'm humbled with I'm humbled to have your gracious openness and like willingness to share this journey you went on and how it felt to you. And I've been writing down constant quotes. But for our listeners, like Deb, let's talk to them for a second. I like the idea that we're telling our listeners it's okay, one, that you have your own valid truth.
Right.
And if the abusers, the witnesses around you didn't see it that way, you can't change it, and it's not on you to do that, right?
Right.
Like
that's right.
Right. So it's kind of where you went. Oh my God, you strong, amazing woman. So
it's easier said than done, Katie, and it's also not something that happens overnight.
Mm-mm.
I mean, you know that from your own experiences. It doesn't happen overnight. There are several things that are happening at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them is the constant struggle with the shame, the self-blame, and the never really feeling completely safe. It's that residue I talk about in my book that we're
going to get there. We're going to do a part two, Deb. Seriously, this is part one. I think we delve into the book secondly, but can I ask you this one question? Kind of what my visual self said, you had this golden lock. You know when you twist and you put the key in and it unlocks and opens?
Mm-hmm.
You were able to open the juggernaut of the lock on your soul, your abuse, your pain, owing anyone. And somehow when I hear the click and the thing opens, that's when you said, I can see my own truth and I operate alone. You didn't say alone. I operate from my own
experience.
Yeah. And that was like, I could imagine this little golden lock unlocking. And that was when I can open the lock and not operate from anyone else and just operate from me.
Yeah.
Oh, how did you do that? Like what did you have someone to support? You said a community.
A community, but also within that recovery sobriety community, there's a big emphasis on spirituality.
Oh,
not religion, not religion, but spirituality. And it's you develop your own spirituality. What works for you? What do you believe in? How do you as a person who's trying to recover from a myriad of things, in my situation, how do you do that? Because you can't do it alone. Do you believe in a source greater than yourself? Do you believe in the universe? Do you believe that there is some sort of divinity or God within you that is connected to a greater source? I mean, what do you do? And so I had 10 years to develop this spirituality and this trust. And when you allow yourself to develop that spirituality and that trust, you follow the voice within that says, this is your truth, Deb. It's okay if your sisters don't have the same one. You know what happened. You experienced it. So this is your truth. And so it's, you follow that and you trust it. And what comes from that, Katie, and what develops from that is an ability to know that it's going to be okay. It's not going to be easy, but it is going to be okay. As long as I stay true to myself, it is going to be okay.
Yeah, wow, that's so powerful, Deb. It's like beautiful. I'm thinking we should do a part 2 and talk about your book in more length and the journey that you take survivors upon with your therapy and your thinking and your collaboration with them. So before we leave this episode, in preparation for the next, where do we want to tell our listeners who are going to hear from you again, hopefully, what can they do next to start, I'm saying unlocking their own locks? That's, unlocking the locks they put them upon themselves, upon the people around them, upon the idea of truth and validation. What would your first step be? Find a new community like you did, or something else?
Well, I think that the first step is to acknowledge that they were sexually assaulted and follow that up with, and it was not my fault. Mm-hmm. Sometimes, Katie, that's the simplest way to begin the process. And you don't have to do any more than that. Because sometimes we try to jump ahead. Oh my God, I just said I was sexually assaulted. Well, it was my fault. Or this, that, or the other thing. Nope. How about we just acknowledge that we were sexually assaulted and it was not our fault? Mm-hmm. And sometimes, Katie, I've had to say that for days. I was sexually assaulted. It was not my fault.
Oh my goodness.
And I don't do anything more with it. I don't do anything more with it because some days I can't. It's too hard.
Do you say it out loud or write it down? Or both?
It depends. I'm a meditator. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times that will be how I start my meditation. And the second part of that, it was not my fault. That's the hardest part.
Wow.
And that's the one that people don't believe. But I would say that that's the first step. Wow. It's acknowledging that you were sexually assaulted, but you have to do that second part.
Mm-hmm.
It was not my fault. Whether you believe it or not, you have to do that second part.
Yeah, totally sit. And I'm just going to reflect on our whole conversation for our listeners. It was so amazing.
But can I say one more thing?
Yeah, of course.
I want to say one more thing.
Of course.
Most of us out there who are sexual assault survivors know of at least one or two other sexual assault survivors. So those are the people that are going to get you. Those are the people that are going to understand. And if you trust these people, if you can establish a small community of 2, 3, 4 people who are sexual assault survivors, and maybe that's all you do is text each other that sentence, I was sexually assaulted and it was not my fault. I mean, maybe that's all you do every day, but that's your community. That's your community. Those are your people who get that statement. You understand that statement because you're part of the community. I get that statement because the first time somebody said it to me, I felt like I was home. And it's so important that we connect with people who are also survivors. I mean, we don't have to move in with them or spend every waking hour with them, but it's just really, really important to make that connection. Does that make sense?
It makes complete sense, Deb. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And what an amazing discussion, conversation. I know our listeners will love every minute. Is there anything else? No, is there anything else you want to add? I think that was a beautiful close. Could you please just describe again anywhere our listeners can find you and learn more about you?
Listeners can find me at, you can contact me directly at Deb at Through the Jungle, 3 words, but all together, throughthejungle.org. That's my email address, but my website, Katie, is throughthejungle.org.
Perfect.
And what is on that website is my coaching business, but also you can read excerpts of my book.
Love. Okay.
On that website.
Okay. That is incredible. And Deb, again, my sheer honor to talk to you, and all you shared, I know, has helped so many.
Thank you. Thank you, Katie, for the opportunity to share, because we heal together.
Mm-hmm.
We heal together. As long as we doubt ourselves and try to push it back in the basement, we're not gonna get better. We heal together.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Deb. And for all of our listeners, this is another episode of Dear Katie. Thank you for continuing on this lengthy and long, full life journey. If you need more resources, Deb just provided more. Always roll back to the Take Back the Night website. There is tons there. You can find the legal support hotline. If you've all of a sudden said, I'm ready to take action, learn more about those choices, and share your story. There's become a fan. There's so many ways to stay engaged. So thank you. Tune in to another episode in the next week. Take care. Thank you again, everybody, for joining another episode of the Dear Katie podcast. I hope very much you found today's episode helpful, empowering, and a way to take another step in that long journey toward healing and supporting those we care about, learning about sexual violence prevention, and also survivor support. For those of you who don't know, again, the Take Back the Night website has tons of great resources, books, self-care options, cool merch. If you're feeling like you need a wearable, we have great t-shirts. Of course, we would love it if you follow along on our free newsletter with news and events going on around the country and even around the globe. And finally, don't forget to like us and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. You'll find our entire community popping up here and there, and recaps of our podcast episodes as well. So together we shatter the silence, and together we end the violence. Take care.